I'm Adam,
I'm Dan.
and today we are talking about It Comes at Night. So, Dan, what came at night?
I don't know, Adam.
I know exactly what came at night. Pretentiousness.
Yeah,
That's
basically.
basically what came at
And
night.
this is going to be a weird one to talk about because, like, the only way we can talk about it is for me to start angrily ranting.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that. Partly because I don't want this to just turn into like an hour of us ranting, but also because there was so much about the movie that I should have liked. Like, the acting in the movie is amazing. Everyone does an excellent job. Like, they all do great. Joel Edgerton is the only one I actually know their name. I apologize for any of the others.
I was like right before we started recording, I made the joke saying that like I couldn't even remember what Joel Edgerton's name is because I just keep wanting to say not Jeremy Renner because to me it's like he's the guy that you get like Jeremy Renner would be really good in this role. Well, he's kind of tied up with Marvel and Disney. I get that other guy then.
Yeah.
What's his name? Not Jeremy Renner. Go get him. Like that's what it kind of reminds me of.
Like they all do great jobs. Like you know what they're going through, and it all comes through, like from their acting, like from their expressions and what they're doing. Because another thing the movie does right is that it doesn't bog down and like they sit there and philosophize at each other. There's not these big monologues. There's not these big back and forths. Like they get their point across, and then it's the way that they interact with each other, the way that they look, when the camera is on them, and that sort of thing. That tells you what they're going through. It tells you what's going through their head. And all of that is handled very well, both from the actor standpoint, the director, the cinematography, and the cinematography is great too. When you see shots of the forest, it can alternate between looking like a gorgeous, wilderness landscape to being creepy and oppressive. And the house is the same way. It'll go from being, like a cozy, warm, lived-in home to just, to just a box, like a claustrophobic place that makes you feel like you're trapped, even when you're watching it. Like you feel like you're trapped. And that all leads up to the atmosphere of the movie, which is just like tension from beginning to end. You sit there the whole time just knowing something bad is going to happen. You don't know when, you don't know what, but it's going to be bad and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what you want from this type of movie. It's all handled so well, and the movie is the most unsatisfying thing I've sat through this entire year. I might actually be more angry at this than I am at Alien Covenant.
I agree with you. It starts off fantastic. The acting is really good in it. The fucking cinematography is beautiful. The film is edited great. I mean, everything about this movie was a perfect movie in almost every way. But then you get to that last, like, home stretch of the movie, the last 20, 25 minutes or something, and it just all falls apart. And we walked out of this, and I said I equated it, it felt similar to No Country for Old Men. Not in tone or anything like that, but just the way the ending divided an audience. Where it's like there's people who saw No Country for Old Men and loved it, but then it's ruined to them by the ending, right? And then there's people who get the ending and appreciate the movie and really love the movie. I personally really love the ending of No Country for Old Men. I didn't like it the first time I saw it, but then I saw it the second time, I was like, you know what, I actually like this ending. Because the thing about that ending is that at least everything is tied up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Llewellyn dies, the Mexicans get the money back, Anton Chigurh roams free and fulfills his promise of killing Llewellyn's wife, and Tommy Lee Jones retires.
Yeah.
Like he kept saying he was going to.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not what you might have wanted when you
exactly.
saw the movie, but everything was tied up. This movie, nothing's tied up.
No.
There is little fucking plot points and little bits and pieces of other stuff that gets brought up in this movie and is never addressed again.
And something is going to happen. Like, first of all, the title, which I know we went at great length about.
Yeah.
If this movie had been called something other than It Comes at Night, I probably wouldn't be as mad, and I might not have been as disappointed. Now, because the title makes no sense, because, spoilers, nothing comes at night.
No, nothing at all.
The thing of it is, and that was something and then the biggest part, because again, you can kind of look at, like, well, maybe it's just paranoid, maybe you're just looking too much into it, but then there's the part with the dog, because, like we mentioned, the dog ran away, and it stopped barking, which presumably meant it got attacked by something. That was what the kid implied that he heard. And that was why they didn't want to go after it, because it could be anything. It could be people, it could be an animal, a bear, whatever. And again, it's not that they're wrong, but here's the problem. So it's the kid walking down the hallway because he kind of hears something.
Yeah, at night.
And at night. And for those of you who haven't seen the movie, it's explained that there's the outer door that
Which
leads
is a
into the
red
house.
door. Yeah.
And, well, no, there's the outer door
yeah.
to the house, which leads into like a little foyer or a mud room or something. And then there's another door that leads from that room into the rest of the house.
Mhm.
Both of them stay locked at night, and they don't go out. You know, they don't open them or go through them for any reason unless it's an absolute emergency. And we know this because, the second family that comes to live with them, they explain that, and it makes perfect sense. And there's deadbolts and there's multiple locks on the door. And the kid is walking down. He hears something. And he doesn't go in the room, but he sees that the door is open, which he knows is a bad sign, and he hears something in there, so he knows something's in the room.
Mm-hmm.
He goes and gets everyone, they come out, and what they find is the dog laying there, bloody,
Mm-hmm.
breathing heavy because it's injured. Now, the dad ends up saying that it's sick, which it may be. I feel like the blood and the mauling was probably the more pressing concern, but, they don't bring that up, which bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, is because I remember we were talking, the kid has nightmares, is all of this a nightmare?
Yeah.
But he wasn't the one seeing that. He never actually saw that.
Mm-hmm.
It was the dad and Will who went in there to see that. So that must be real. They were seeing it.
Yeah.
So that happened. And later on after this, after they deal with the dog, unfortunately they have to put it down, but they deal with the dog and then they all go back to talk about what happened.
Yeah.
And, it's did you touch the dog? Because the dog was sick, so they want to make sure no one's infected. That's fine. Did you touch the dog when you opened the door? And he says, well, I didn't open the door. And before this, the younger kid with the second family, he had been found out of his room, and, the older kid says maybe he opened the door. They point out that he's not tall enough to reach the locks, and I think that's actually true.
Yeah.
Now, that leads to paranoia, which leads to the actual end of the movie and the two families going at it, which, again, is handled well acting-wise,
Mm-hmm.
but none of it addresses the fact that we know for a fact, the audience, that the older kid didn't open the door. It was open when he got there.
Yeah.
And I don't think the younger kid could have done it. I think they're right. He couldn't have reached the locks, let alone known how to open them if he could.
Yeah.
But the dog was already in that room. So regardless of the inner door, someone opened the outer door for it, put the dog in there, and then opened the inner door. And no one mentions the outer door. No one even talks about it. We don't see it open. No one talks about it being open. But it must have been. There's no dog door.
Yeah.
The dog didn't open it itself. Even if it was healthy, it can't do that. So the dog got it. Someone put the dog in there. Someone must have opened the door, put the dog in there, opened the inner door. We don't know what happened to that person, that thing, that anything. And no one addresses it.
No.
Something happened here. Something other than the people that we know about.
Yeah.
Put the dog in there, opened all these doors. It's never seen again, never heard from again. They never address it. If they had said anything, if they had said one word about, well, there might be something other than us in here.
The thing about the dog, that's one of the bigger problems, right? But for me, there's also just so many other things that are set up in this movie that aren't explained or aren't followed on. For instance, when Joel Edgerton takes the one guy, after the one guy from the other family ended up trying to break into their house, he knocked him out. That's how he meets him. So he explains to Joel Edgerton how he has a family, they have goats and they have chickens, and they're willing to trade for water. So Joel Edgerton and his wife figure it's actually a good idea to bring the family there with their food, with the animals, and they go all live together. And then they figure it'd be better that way because now you have more people there just in case. So when he decides to take this guy to his house, okay, to meet his wife and his kid, all right, they get attacked on the way. Not 15 minutes after they leave, he even says that. We're not even 10 miles away from my house, and we're already getting, and we just got attacked by two guys. They end up killing the two guys brutally, I might add. Okay? And he starts asking the guy, do you know them? Do you know them? And he says, no, I don't know. And the whole idea is that it starts poking holes in the guy's story because he started saying how he traveled for 50 miles and didn't find anybody. And he's like, an hour, only about not even 10 miles out from my house, and two people show up. What the fuck? And then one of the things he explains is that they used to live at his brother's, but they left there because his brother died. And then Joel Edgerton ends up finding out later on that the guy's an only child. And he confronts him about it. And the guy says, well, actually it was my brother-in-law, but he was like a brother to me. And he goes, okay. There's so many things like that. And then the dog running after something in the woods, how the dog got in the house in the first place, like you mentioned, who opened the door, why was the kid out of the room when the parents claim he didn't sleepwalk. So many things that they set up. And by the end, none of them are answered.
No.
Nothing's answered. Now,
50 on.
Like I would have given them so much credit in the world if even just the very last second of the movie you see something in the woods.
something,
Just
anything.
like a giant monster, a pair of eyes, a glowing, ghostly light, anything at all. Just like it wouldn't have saved the movie, but it would have at least then like, okay, so there was something. Like we're not crazy. Like we're not watching this, not understanding. But no, they put all this stuff in there, like you said, that just doesn't pay off.
No, nothing pays off.
That's what it comes down
Lots
to.
of scores. I'll let you go first.
As much as I thought that Alien Covenant was going to take the cake and be the lowest score I gave for a while, I don't know if I want to give it lower, but I gotta give it a 4, which is what I gave Alien Covenant. Because I as much as there's so much of this movie that I should recommend, that should be good, that should make, anyone who likes movies like it, it's just, a movie is also supposed to lead somewhere. It's supposed to have a point and a conclusion. And this movie has none of those things.
Yeah.
So I can't recommend it. It's got to be a 4.
I'm going to give it a 5. And the reason I'm going to give it a 5 is because there is good stuff here. Like I said, the acting is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. The atmosphere, the suspense is really good. It's just, unfortunately, if this movie had a better ending, or maybe addressed some of the things it set up and actually gave us answers, and maybe even if it was just vague answers or just little things, I would have probably given this movie probably a recommendation. Probably would have gave it a 7 or an 8, maybe even a 9 or even a 10. But everything is just ruined in that last 20 minutes or so, and it doesn't build up to nothing. So I'm just I'm gonna give it a 5, and the only reason I'm giving it a 5 is just because of the other stuff in the movie is fantastic. It's just, unfortunately, the whole movie is ruined at the ending, in my opinion. I came up with 2 analogies for this movie, okay? All right, there's 2 analogies I came up with this movie that I thought was perfect. One is like the movie is like going on a roller coaster, okay? You get in the cars, you're going up the hill, you keep going up, and the drop never comes.
That's a really good analogy.
That is. Until I realized that implies there's no climax. There is a climax in this movie. So my other analogy is it's like getting a great blowjob, but in the last 5 minutes, your girlfriend just gives you a handy to finish you off.
I was with you on the roller coaster, buddy, and I don't know.
So I don't know. That's gonna do it. So 4, 5. It's not good. Don't recommend it.
Here's the thing, but just one last thing. I'm going to say it's not satisfying. Because, again, there is so much of this movie that is technically good.
Yeah.
The technical parts of the movie are fantastic. But it's not satisfying. It is not a good narrative.
No. So, that's going to do it for us this time. Maybe we'll be back with 47 meters down.
We'll see.
All right. If not that, then I'm sure something else at some point. I'll probably just put up a bunch of random posters and movies right here. Like maybe that one. Not sure about this one. All right. Thanks for watching. See you later.